Good evening, guys. Um, okay, hope you can hear me. So let me share my screen and we will start. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All right, so let's start then. I see almost everyone is here. So today we're gonna continue the cucumber part, and today we're gonna talk about the big data-driven testing implementation in a Cucumber. How can you implement the same data-driven approach that we did with TestNG? How it looks on a Cucumber, and I'm going to show you like some examples. And after that, we're going to talk more about reporting, how to generate reports, and then I'm going to talk about tags, like how we tag our test cases on Cucumber and how do we select which test cases to run. And pretty much after that, we can just I can answer some of the questions if you will have them. All right, so let's actually go back here in IntelliJ IDE. And so quick recap what we did on Saturday, in case if you guys missed it. We covered the whole new approach for test automation. I pretty much show how to create test cases in a human readable language in a Gherkin style. And now our test cases looks like that in a human readable language without zero programming. And so this is the test cases part, like upper layer for our automation. And implementation details, they are still, translation for steps, they are still in Java, right? Because Java compiler or Gradle or TestNG, they don't understand what these steps are doing, right? And we need to tell them like what we actually doing, what we supposed to do after we use I-click login button keyword, right? And in this step translations, we are actually using our page object where we're saying, okay, if I use like this sentence of keywords, I need to use enter email method that we defined on the login page here. Yeah, so again, our test case, frameworks become a little bit like more complicated in terms of the layers. So before it was just the test cases and page object model, right? Like test cases and implementation details. Now we have test cases which don't use any Java at all. They use just Cucumber. And then we have a step translations where we translate each of the steps, and then in step translation, we're using our page object approach here. All right, so let's go back to our login feature file. And so here, in this example, what we did, we just specified how to create like multiple login scenarios, depends on the input data, right? And after that, we specified what should we see after that, right? Now let's, if you remember, like when we covered the same thing in TestNG, we eventually just got rid of creating multiple test cases, and we just used data-driven approach, right? Do you guys remember what the data-driven means? If you will have this question on the interview.
Yes.
Okay, and what's data-driven?
It's the data-driven is helps you if you have like a zip code and there's one different zip code from the common one, you do the data-driven, which means like you implement this concept in the database. It helps you to filter the data. It help you to use multiple use of the data is.
I thought also it means that we're relying on a lot of data
that we want to input into our code, something like that. Like,
No, that is data provider. Data provider.
I mean, you guys both right, but I need like more precise, little bit more precise answer.
Okay, data
how would
provider.
answer the interview?
Okay, data provider is when you call you
No data provider.
data driven. Okay, data driven is
Okay, my question is, what's the data driven testing? What does it
okay. Data driven. I don't recall everything, but should be data driven is when there are some elements that are a little bit different, and that you want to get that value, that data. That's why you call this data driven. That helps you to filter the data that you want.
Okay. And Imad, what was your version?
I mean, it was kind of like what she said. It was more of using the data provider because it does use data-driven approach, which means like you're relying on a bunch of data and you're using that data into your code to simplify it, I guess. I mean, that's what I understood for, but I don't know.
Yes. I mean, well, you're both right. So basically, data-driven, as you said, when we use like multiple set of data, and so the thing is, when we have the same implementation steps, right? It's just a different input data and different output. But if steps are the same, we can just use like multiple set of data, and instead of creating like multiple test cases, we can just keep implementation details the same and just changing the data that we're passing for this test case, right? So
can you repeat that, please?
Yes. So basically, when we have like a different set of data, different input details and output details, and the same like implementation steps, right? So we can just use data-driven approach when we pass like multiple data for the same steps instead of just creating like multiple test cases.
Okay, it's just like the data provider then. It is what you're saying.
Yeah, but when you say data provider, you kind of like go more to the details of the implementation, but
just more high level is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
But data provider is more about like collection of it, or data list is more about that, not like.
I mean, well, it's a tool for data-driven framework, which basically how you provide the data, right? So it's more like, I mean, it's like a details, like how do we pass the data? I mean, of course, we need to use data providers, right? In a TestNG, it's going to be like data provider annotation. In a Cucumber, it's going to be what I'm going to show you right now.
Nice.
Yep. All right. So now let's take a look at our test cases. We have a login test cases, right? So I have a typo here. Click login button. I think my refactoring. Let me actually see if I can refactor it from here. Okay, so Cucumber plugin doesn't allow nice refactoring. So probably here you will need to refactor it. Like, I mean, if you did typo on the steps and reuse the steps, you probably need to change it one by one. Or you can just use like Command R, and you can just replace I click the login button, right? To I click login button, right? And replace all. I mean, that's how you can do that. But of course, we also need to change it on here, right? So it's going to be I click login button. Okay. So again, so if you're going to take a look to the test cases, we are passing pretty much, we have the same test steps, right? So we are like here, we are passing email, here we're passing password, and then we're clicking to the login button, and then we see some expected results, right? So pretty much here, because it's a login success, we need to see like a login successful message. But let's say if it's like any error, login error message, we need to get like any specific error, right? All right. So how can we use data-driven approach in Cucumber? So let me actually show you first for the negative scenarios, because it's going to be easier. Because for login successful, it's a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different logic, right? Because we will see we're not going to see any error message. So here, let me actually delete it for now. And here, let me actually make some quick change here. So instead of scenario, when we're going to use like a data-driven approach, we're going to use scenario outline. So this is like a different keyword in a Cucumber. Scenario outline is basically another type of scenario which supports like multiple data passing, right? So here, let me actually comment out of this for now. And after we use scenario outline, I will need to use like example tables, right? And example tables, there's going to be our data provider, and this is where we're going to specify which data we need to pass to this test case. So let's actually make our email and make our password dynamic. So I'm going to make this like 2 fields dynamic, and then we're going to see how it works. So, okay. So here I need to say examples. And because this is a table, I need to specify the column names, right? And after specify the column names, I need to specify the values. So it's going to be email, right? Then it's going to be password. And I think that's going to be it for now. Yeah. All right, so now let's pass the values here. So the first one is going to be empty email, right? So it's going to be empty email and some random password. Okay, let's adjust it a little bit. And I mean, the second test case here, we're going to have empty password, right? So pretty much here, I need to pass the same. Well, I need to pass empty password. And I need to pass valid email here. All right, so here we go. Yeah, formatting is a little bit annoying here because it doesn't do any auto formatting. You have to like, I mean, it actually doesn't matter. You can like, you don't have to align your table. You can leave it like something like that. It's still gonna work, but it's just gonna look nicer if you have it aligned. But I mean, it's still gonna compile. It's still gonna compile. It's still gonna work. So don't worry about it. Okay, and the last test case, let's keep it as empty email and empty password, right? Okay, so empty email and empty password. Okay, so this is gonna be our simplified set of data, right? So here we have emails, here we have like passwords, and we pretty much trying to make this input data dynamic, right? All right, so now let's go here. So how do we need to change it? I mean, very simple. Instead of just passing exact value, what we can do, we can just say email, right? Using this like open angle, parentheses and closing angle parentheses here. And the same thing here as well. Instead of hard coding the password, we can just say password here, right? And that's pretty much it. So let me try to run it and see if that's gonna work. So let me check if my Gradle clean file, where is it here? Using my regression XML and regression, we have Cucumber runner. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Let's run it. Okay, so that was weird. Let's see what's happened here. But ironically, it says it's successful. All right, let me change background here and let me pass it here. Maybe background confused it a little bit. So given when. Okay, let's run it one more time. Okay, it still passes for some reason. So let me see. Let me see actually my report here. Oh, it says it cannot find the file here. Okay, so let's see. Let's take a look to my step definitions where I'm defining my browser. Okay, so I have implicitly wait here for 15 seconds, right? And here I have connection to my terminal. Let's see if they are actually valid. I mean, yeah, it says it's valid. So let me restart it just to make sure there's like no any bad server status here. Okay, so I need to run the hub first. And here I need to use my node. Okay, so it's running. Let me double check very quick that it's actually running. Oh, wow, I have 500 error. That's interesting. Console. Okay, so I think this one is, I just killed. And this one is stable, right? So I have all the browsers. Okay, so let's try to run one more time. All clean tests. Okay, that's weird. Okay, let's see. Let's actually do following. Let me pass here my. Let's pass quick timeout here. Thread sleep. Let's say for 3 seconds, right? 3 milliseconds. Okay, it's run it 3 times, but it doesn't pass any values, right? Which is very strange. Let's see what may potentially cause it. We have Chrome options. We have a driver here. Let's check our tests. So in the base test, we don't use anything related to Cucumber, right? So our driver initiation basically are made from here. Okay, so okay, that looks right to me. But for some reason, okay, let me check something here. So I open login page, I email to email field. So this is passing that. Okay, guys, let me do the following. Let me copy our progress here and let me revert my changes. Maybe I broke something here. Okay, so before we had only 3 test cases, right? And we don't, okay, so this is commented out. So step definitions, our step definitions, there's like nothing much here. And our small step definitions are here, right? Okay, let's try. Okay, here I see it's actually it's actually typing something, but it's very, very fast, right? So maybe I need to add sleeps after here. This is a login message. Because we barely can see what it's typing here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let's take a look here. So I add password fields, right? So I add password field. Why it's using the email, I'm not sure. Let's change it to the password. And let's add this thread slip after I add the email field. I know it's not the best approach to debug stuff, code, but I'm just like curious to see why it's failing so fast here. Okay, so it's adding my email and it's adding the password. Actually, you know why, guys? It's still adding the values, right? But maybe it's actually ignores this slip because it's go after assertion. So let me try to set it after the assertion here. And let me add just one scenario here. Okay, so it adds email. It doesn't add password. Let's see why. So I have a password, right? So it says login, enter password. So it should add it here, right? And this is the same driver. Okay, let me not add the password at all here, and let's see. Okay, so it's open the login page, it adds the email, it doesn't do anything, and it is successful, right? So let me do following. So I see the login successful message. By the way, what's the I click login page? What it is? Let me find it in the step definition here. Okay, not here, maybe I click login button here, right? Okay, so maybe I didn't replace it with the wrong one. So let me try again. Okay, so now it seems to be working, but I'm still curious by why it says build successful. So let's try something, guys.
Sorry if I interrupt you. So in this scenario, login success, given I add email to the, maybe it's a misspelling, you know, email to the, there's this misspelling.
Oh yes, it's misspelled email. It's actually, yeah, it's a typo, but I have a typo in the keyboard as well.
Oh, okay, sorry.
In this case, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, guys. So let's do following, because I see successful message. I have like 1 equal to 1. Let me do 1 equal to 0, right? Just to make sure it's gonna fail it. Okay, I have an email. I have a password. So I have an error message. And okay, so it fails. And it fails because, let's see why it fails. I mean, well, it fails because assertion error, right? Because we have like 1 equal to 0. Okay, but let me actually return our examples table here. I click login button, I see login successful message. I add email to the email field. Let me run it. Just one example. Okay, so it says, well, it still says build successful, but I think here it complains because it says undefined step reference, right? So let's me get rid of that, right, of double quotes. Maybe because of the double quotes it was complaining. Let me try one more time. Okay, so now I see it works. And it fails because the same assertion error. Yeah, sorry guys. So I think what the problem was, I didn't specify the exact step name. So I mean, because I had the quotes here for the email, and that's why Cucumber wasn't able to identify my step. So, and because we had like undefined step, and that's why it wasn't like, it pretty much failed, but because it's failed on the Cucumber level, like Gradle didn't notify us that we have an undefined step. But this is actually weird because, I mean, if you have undefined step, usually it throws the error and it's saying that the error, like you don't have a specified step for specific one. All right. So let me return my rest of the test cases and let me run them one by one. And let me remove this unnecessary waits from opening the page, right? From adding the email field. And okay, we can just leave it here for now as a searching part. Okay, let's open the email. It's opening the empty password, right? And it says password required. And the last one, it has email required and password required at the same time. Okay, anyway, so, and it says build failed because we have assertion 1 equal to 0, right? Which is basically always will fail. And yeah, so basically, guys, this is how you are, I mean, using the data-driven approach for Cucumber. You're just using these example files. Again, instead of just specifying scenario, you need to specify scenario outline. So this is kind of like your template, right? Your test case template. And this is the data that you're going to pass on the fly. And the logic here exactly the same as we've had for, I mean, the SNG data-driven approach, right, with data providers. We just specify like some method where we defined all the input data, right, or output data. So this is the same thing, but the only difference, it just uses example tables. And so in this kind of format, right? I mean, again, it was made for to even simplify it more. So, I mean, even like people who doesn't have any technical experience, they can just write these example tables. And again, as I said, if it doesn't have to be aligned, The only thing is the first row on the column is going to be like column names, and these values is going to be the column values, like for the email, for the password, and you pretty much can define as much as you want, and just use it inside of your code. And this is how you can, I mean, this is how you can like pass them. And you don't actually have to pass these parameters. Let's say if you have like some hard-coded parameters here, right? And some password. So pretty much, even if you're not using these parameters, and if you're gonna run your test case, so what's gonna happen here, it's pretty much gonna run the same test cases 3 times, use the same set of values, right? So again, and again. Use the same set of data. And like, for example, if you will need to run your Cucumber test case, like, I don't know, like 10 times, right? You just can create 10 different data, and you're just gonna run the same test case like 10 times without like passing any data. Okay, let me return it. And here we go. This is how it's gonna look like. More about the Cucumber tables. I mean, you can find on the official Cucumber documentation here, but I mean, pretty much it's gonna tell you exactly the same as I did. So this is like scenario outline. This is the example tables, and this is how you can like pass these like arguments inside of your test cases, and after that you can just execute them. Okay, does it make sense for you guys? Do you have like any questions for usage? I mean, for data-driven approach usage in a Cucumber? Does it look hard? Does it look easy? I guess less complicated than TestNG approach, right?
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like,
I can barely hear you. Like you are something with your internet connection.
Connection.
Yeah. You can try one more time. Maybe I will get the question.
Azad, can you hear me? I think Zoom has some problem because I'm getting error message from like microphone perspective.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I cannot even hear you, just like.
Yeah, for some reason I keep losing you guys. I'm not sure if it's my internet connection or Zoom issue, but yeah. So right now, like a lot of companies, a lot of people using Zoom because of the most of the people staying home, and sometimes Zoom can introduce new issues. Okay, so question from Harry. Can you explain again why you got wrong before in Gradle? So the problem was, it's because, I mean, I didn't, I mean, pretty much my step wasn't correct. So it has a typo on there or something. So it wasn't the same step as I defined in my translation. And that's why I got this error. Because I instead of like click, I think it was click something, right? So it wasn't replaced for some reason. And I believe like because of that, it didn't proceed, right? Okay, so you can't hear me again, right? Let me try something here, guys. Let me switch to another. Okay, so you're fine. Let me try to switch to my. Do you guys have? Okay, so majority of viewers is fine, right? Okay. Yeah, Harry and Maria, looks like it's on your side because I also can hear you well. I mean, most of you except for Harry. So for rest, I can hear and I can read. Yeah, I don't know, maybe try to restart. I can try to switch to another Wi-Fi. But I mean, that's all I can do. Okay, great. Okay, so quick answer for your question, Carrie. It was because wrong step was defined, and I didn't have this step in my step definition, and that's why I had this error. And this build Gradle, it complains because I have I make it fail in purpose because I still login successful message, I have a assertion like 1 equal to 0, right? And that's why it's actually failing. All right, guys, if you will have like any more questions, I mean, you can like unmute yourself and speak, or you can just type on the chat and I will try to take my eye on it. All right, guys, so again, this is how you can use like examples. So very simple approach. The only downside of that, your data provider and your test should be like on the same feature file, right? You can like just use them separately as we use for data provider and test.ng. Sorry, I can't hear you still. I can like barely hear you. Yeah, please try to type something here in the chat because I think this will be easier. Yeah, and yeah, as I said, here it's like more easier. You can't use like external data providers, but I think it was made in purpose because when you're using a Cucumber, you don't want something over complicated. You want to use something simple. So like non-technical people will understand it as well. And that's why we use like these example tables. And this is pretty much data-driven approach in Cucumber. All right, guys, so next step. Let's talk about the how can we let's talk about tagging, and then we can talk about the reporting, like a different reporting style in the Cucumber and the Gradle and in TestNG, and we're just gonna compare them. All right. So how we can define which test case to run, right? Before in a TestNG, I told you like most probably you will just specify which test cases to run in a XML file configuration, right? So in a Cucumber, it's a little bit different. So pretty much for all of the test cases, they use tags, right? So they adding the tag and specifying like a smoke, right? Or you can add like additional text saying like stage only, right? Or so, I mean, you can like specify like any text you want, and you're just pretty much adding the marks for the test cases and specifying when they need to be run, right? And besides that, let's say you have another scenarios, right? So like an empty password, and let's add the third one. Let's say empty email. Right? So here you have a smoke, here you have a regression, right? Regression, and here, like for example, you have a regression as well. And like this is how you can define and tag all the test cases, right? So like saying it's staging or regression or so on and so on. And in a Cucumber runner, I mean, because it's our main configuration source of truth, we can define which tags we want to run here. So in this example, it's going to be, so we just inside of the Cucumber options, we can just say text equal and pass it as a inside of like this parentheses. And we just need to specify which tag we want to run here. So let's say smoke, right? So it's going to be smoke here. And let's let's actually leave it only one example. So it's just gonna run only once. Let's try to trigger these test cases and let's make it run. Okay. So now, I mean, again, it failed because we have this, we made it to fail. So because 1 is not equal to 0, it's equal to 1. Or we can just comment this out because, I mean, it doesn't make sense to have this assertion. Okay, and let me go back here. So again, because we had only one smoke test case, it's run only smoke test case, right? And for example, if we want to run not smoke, but let's say regression, right? So we can just specify that here and say, okay, I want to run only test cases with tag regression, right? So let's run it one more time. Okay, so it's open the page, but it doesn't go to the login page, right? I think because we have an issue. Oh yeah, I don't have this step specified. My bad, guys. Let me add, I am on the login page here and here as well. And because we already have given, so it's gonna be when here and when here. Okay, so let's do one more time. Okay, so it's open login page. It adds values. It's wait 3 seconds before finishing. The same thing here, right? And here we have like a big build successful, right? Okay, guys. So now you saw like when I use like a regression tag, it's only runs the regression test cases, right? It didn't run this smoke one. And the same thing when I specify the smoke tag, it didn't run regression ones, it's run only smoke one. This is how you can specify like which tags you want to run on the specific test run. Again, you can do that like here in Cucumber options, or I mean, you can use the same approach, like configure it and pass it through the command line. So maybe like it will be easier, but again, in a Cucumber, most probably you will just use the tags specifying which test cases you want to run, right? Based off the test suite. So it's either like smoke, regression, or maybe another test suite that you would like to run here. Okay, do you guys have any questions about tagging? And yeah, so one more thing. If you don't want to run specific tags, you can just say, you can just add the tilde sign here and specify tilde at regression, right? And if you specify tilde, it's gonna run all the test cases except for those who marked as a regression, right? So it's pretty much, I mean, tilde regression is gonna be exactly the same as a smoke, right? So it's gonna be exactly the same thing. All right. Okay, no questions. Okay, perfect. Let's move on, and now let's go to the more interesting part about reporting, right? How can we report? Like, how can we see our reports here? So basically, let's go back here and let's actually make it fail one more time. So where's my login step definitions? And let's mark it, let's make it fail. And let's run it. Okay, so when we have our test finished and if it's failed or it passed, so Gradle, as I said earlier, generates its own reports. And you can actually see here that it generates HTML file, right? And this HTML file is actually located on this path. So basically, because my project calls Selenium Quidos, you can go to the build, you can go to the reports, right? You can go to the reports, you can go to the tests, and you can, in here, you can find this HTML report, right? And inside of that, it's gonna tell you like how much, like how many tests were run, how many failures, what was the duration. And here it's also gonna show you like a failed test case, right? So you can open it and you can see the assertion, I mean the error log here, or you can go to the test and see in the test level, right? So why it failed, or you can go to the standard error and it's gonna say, it's gonna show you a standard error here. So which is gonna be exactly the same thing, exactly the same as here. So pretty much the same reporting as we did for, as we saw for TestNG, right? So the thing is, like, because it's gonna regenerate this index HTML file like over and over again after your next run. So it's gonna regenerate it, right? So basically here, if I'm gonna run it one more time, so where's my step definitions here? Right here. So let's say I assert true because 1 is equal to 1, right? So it's gonna pass here. And then, I mean, because it passed, it's not gonna show you like any links here, but it's still gonna like generate it, right? So, and if you, let's say, if you refresh this page, right? So it's gonna say like in this run, like 100% of the test cases are passed, right? I mean, 100% in just one test case, right? And you're, of course, because it's passed, you're not gonna see any errors, any error messages, and so on and so on, right? So, I mean, I think, Harry, you asked me before where we can get like this reports, even though our tests are passed. I mean, they are going to be exactly on the same path, but Gradle is just not going to generate it on the logs, right? But they always here. And again, guys, in this case, it's going to regenerate them again and again over that. So in this case, you probably will need to grab that, or I mean, well, HTML reports, they are mostly used for if you need like email, like let's say stakeholders or your QA manager with results, you can like tie it with like any email service and just send this HTML reports, right? Or you can store it on the server. You can like implement your custom report here. It's based, I mean, it's up to you if you'll decide to use like Gradle standard reporting. But keep in mind that it's gonna regenerate it over and over again after each of your run here. All right, so let's say if you are not satisfied with Gradle reports, you can always use another reporting. So Cucumber actually has its own reporting tool, and we can also use it. So basically, let me actually grab my notes here. Yes, here we go. It's also specified on the plugin. Okay, so to use standard Cucumber reporting, we need to add on the features, like in the Cucumber options. So we need to add this option. It's called, okay, let me check here what I did. Okay, I need to remove this closing parentheses. Okay, so we need to use additional plugin. It's called Pretty, so which will generate like a pretty, I mean, by Cucumber opinion, they are pretty. They're gonna generate pretty Cucumber reports. And here you can specify the folder where you want to generate them. And in this case, what's gonna happen is gonna create new folder with name target. And inside of that is gonna create Cucumber reports, right? So after our next run, it's gonna generate this report there. All right, so now let's try to run it and see if they works. So let's go back to the step definitions and let's make it fail, right? So let's run it. Okay, error message. So it closed. It says it failed. And so let's take a look at our tree here. Yeah, so here, you see guys, we have like a new target folder, new Cucumber report folder. And here we have our index HTML, right? Which we can open. And we can open like in any browser, right? And this is our standard report from Cucumber, what Cucumber provides it. So here you can see, so basically it doesn't have like any fancy layouts, right? It's just like plain information. So it says which feature are being run, right? And you can expand it and you can see like text for this test case, like scenario outline, right? And because it's scenario outline, it also gives you the example tables. And it's also gonna show you like in which example table it had this issue, right? So it says, in this case, when I use like empty email and this specified password, I got this assertion error, right, in this step. So this is like a standard Cucumber reports. In case if you want to use them, I mean, of course, they don't have like any fancy CSS layouts or some fancy JavaScripts, but this is a, standard Cucumber thing that it provides, right? And I believe if you're gonna use that, you can also, you still will have your Gradle reports, which you can also access from here. And if you're gonna refresh the page, and here you can, because you have this plugin turnout, right? So you can see like a standard output, and here you're gonna have like exactly the same information. So it's gonna tell you pretty much the same thing, like a text, test case, and here it's gonna show you where exactly and in which case we've got this error, right? Like let's say, because you have like, if you will have like a multiple test data, it's gonna show you on the which combination we've got this error, right? So this is how you can use this feature for Cucumber for its own nice reporting. Again, guys, for reporting part, it's like, it depends like who gonna look to your reports. If it's just gonna be you, you may not spend so much time on that because for you probably it's gonna be easier just to investigate the issue from the logs. If your manager or any other stakeholders wants to review your reports, in this case, you can actually implement any like custom reporting. Like let's say if this is not gonna enough for them, it's actually a lot of tools available for reporting. You can implement Allure reporting. It's also kind of popular. So the basically idea here is going to be the same. So all of them are going to use TestNG XML reporting, right? And the last part about the reporting, actually, TestNG it's like generates its own reporting, but because we use Gradle, it's pretty much Gradle here. It suppress any TestNG XML reporting, right? And because it suppresses them, it doesn't allow to use like any TestNG its own reporting. And to enable TestNG reporting, we just need to change this configuration for build Gradle. And for that, let me actually go back to my notes here again. I will need to use this flex here. So let me pass them right here. Yeah, so I need to specify output directory where we're gonna see our reports, and we're gonna specify the flags which called use default listeners equal to true. All right, so now let's run it one more time and let's see how standard TestNG reports looks like. So they're gonna fail. And after the fail, we need to find our reporting. It's under TestNG output folder, right? Okay, so this is, okay, so here we go. It's under the build TestNG output. And here you may see a lot of files. So basically what we need to find our HTML web page, right? So this is our index HTML. And let's open it and see how it looks like. Okay, so this is I mean, because it's a TestNG, it looks really odd. It's really weird. So it's just gonna show you like which method and which error, right? Which scenario. And that's pretty much it, right? Usually, I mean, well, you can also see like reporter output, right? So this is what generated from the Cucumber. Usually, if you have like a standard test not using the Cucumber, they look a little bit nicer than that, but it's still a little bit confusing. And besides that, it also has the emailable report in HTML format. And if you're gonna open it, so you can see like this report, I believe it's assumed to be more friendly with emails. So, I mean, I don't know, you can like play around with that, but again, I think it's not fully compatible with Cucumber because Cucumber likes only its own reporters and it doesn't like any additional reporters. And maybe here, you can also reuse it in this case. Okay, and so if you, okay, let me find this XML file. Okay, and this is the XML file. So in case, guys, if you want to, I mean, again, as I said, there's a lot of different tools available for reporting. You can use them as well if you really need to. I mean, well, what they're gonna do is they're just gonna require your XML file from TestNG, right? So basically, this is the XML file where they're gonna parse your test results, right? And they're gonna parse them and they're gonna make them look nicer, right? And basically, I mean, again, that's what they will need, and they will just need to grab your XML file and parse it and show like all this data more user friendly and more nicer. But again, it's kind of like a little bit more out of scope of like this course because we are using the standard ones provided. But if you want and if you really need to at work, and you can play around, you can see what the other reporting solutions available. If you need to report your test cases to the stakeholders or someone, let's say at my company, we are using like our own custom reporting. They are a little bit like more overcomplicated, but because like our manager wants to like other teams in our company look to these test runs, that's why we had to like implement our own. But I mean, in most cases, probably for you, if you're going to be the only one person to work with test cases automation, then probably for you, you won't really need that, and probably just a custom like console errors or Jenkins logs going to be sufficient for you. Okay, so let me do following. Let me actually. Do you guys have any questions about reports or Cucumber tables?
Maybe I have a question.
Mhm.
So, according to your experience, how many times the stakeholders or managers ask you to fill out reporting bugs for automation?
I mean, you mean like to file bugs that
To file bugs, the facts, or whatever.
I mean, if I see the bugs on the after automation runs, I just report them right away.
You report right away to the developer or to the lead QA?
Developer, yeah. I mean, well, it's. I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Imad.
I was gonna say sometimes like it depends because like I work, for example, at AT&T, the Scrum Master, we assign it to him, for example. In that case, it's special. And he assigns it to the developers. So it depends on case to case. Sometimes the other job I had, it was with my QA manager. So it depends on who you assign the bugs to in general.
Okay, so I was asking because you know, I want to know.
Yeah. It depends of the company and depends of the team. Okay, guys. Any more question about the BDD approach here or reporting? I mean, well, for me, it looks like more straightforward, right? If you remember this data providers in TestNG, after that, Cucumber probably looks much easier for you and less overcomplicated, right? But as I said, it was intentionally made. We just want to show you how, I mean, kind of like from the hardest part go like to more like easiest part, right? And if we're gonna like show you the Cucumber first, probably you won't get like a pure Java programming and pure Java test cases implementation, right? But after that, I think Cucumber should be like very easy for you. And again, as I said, probably you won't like to use them at work if you're gonna be the only person for automation. But if your manager wants it, or you have like more people who wants to contribute test cases, so you can do that and you can use Cucumber as well. Okay, guys, let me do following. Let me commit my changes because I always forget about it. Okay, let me use build Gradle. Unresolved files. Let me see if I have something here. Well, it's just my you don't. It's just my configurations. You don't need to. You don't need to have them. So let me just say that data-driven in Cucumber plus additional reportings. Reporting. Okay. Let me commit it. Let me commit it anyway. And let's push it. Okay, I think I made a typo there, but sorry guys, I think you will forgive me for this quick typo. All right, guys. Let's. So we kind of covered the Cucumber part. I don't think you need to know like anything else here. So next first day session is gonna be like our official last live session when we're gonna have like a live session. So on the first day we're gonna cover algorithms and we're gonna practice more algorithms, and I'm gonna select few algorithms from the lead code because again, that's what you will need to do besides the automation in case to be prepared for the interview. And again, if you, I mean, there was a question what you need to do to finish our bootcamp. Basically, after Thursday session, you need to finish all the, I mean, you need to submit all the homework, right? And if you will like submit all the homework, we can, as I said, like in the beginning of this bootcamp, we can give you like some additional topics, like for API automation that we used, or for something else. So for that, please finish all of your homework. Please finish all the sections in LMS. And yeah, so this is like, I mean, we are on the finish line, and pretty much we're not gonna cut you access after that. I mean, I always will be available, and you can also do like mentoring sessions. And yeah, so again, on the first day is gonna be our last official session for you guys, and maybe we will have like more for follow-ups, especially for working. We usually do follow-up sessions with our graduates about the job search, and probably we will do that, and we will notify on the channel. Okay, so questions on the chat from Imad. Okay, if you're on the week number 8, yeah, you need to catch up, Imad. And I mean, again, there's no strict deadlines for homework. You can work on your own schedule, but yeah, you will need to finish them eventually. Okay, question from Vladimir. What order would you recommend to follow for algorithm practice? Yeah, Maria already answers them. Easy to medium. I would say touch medium. Focus on the easy part.
Yeah, I mean, I know about easy because I remember that you were saying, but I mean, like, there's like examples with arrays or maybe just integers or strings, you know, like, I mean, I thought that maybe practice more with arrays and with integers. I mean, about this type of, you know.
I see. The easiest way, I would say, just go to the problems and select them by acceptance rate, right? And if the issue has a high acceptance rate, that means it should be like more easier to solve, right? Because more people, I mean, probably if this issue has a 91% acceptance rate, this means like 9% of the coders who submit their solution are being approved, right? So probably it's going to be more easier.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, one more question also, because I mean, I don't know why, but I have interview for automation with Python on this Thursday. And like, would you recommend like to read something about Python? I mean, because yeah, I don't really Python person at this moment. Yeah. So, but I mean, would you recommend to read some questions about Python or just like?
You can just see, I mean, you can just take a look to the example codes for Python just to see how it looks like. But I mean, don't start to learn from scratch Python. Like you won't be able to learn Python like in 2 days.
Yeah.
You're just gonna waste your time that you can just prepare for the algorithms or for the interview. Just prepare for the interview itself.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
At that, I have a few questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Maria.
So I wrote a question on the chat about the method wait, explicit wait. So I asked you, so I've seen lots of example, right? So if I want to, for example, call, I want to make sure that text, I don't know, the written text on the website appears, then I have to call different wait element, right? Is that right?
You mean a different expected condition, right?
Yeah, different expect condition. So I have to call another method with different expect condition and then call that in the, okay. Plus, I need just an opinion. So what would you answer to this question? I mean, just for fun. Let me see. What is the importance of quality assurance testing according to your experience?
Maria, I think this question, like this interview question, you can just ask on the chat because like I don't want to, I mean, well,
no, I need just like a mini concept, then I can explain. I mean, I have to create a diagram actually. So it's just like I need some input, then I can create whatever.
Okay. Yeah. So what was your question? What's my?
What is the importance of quality assurance test or testing?
Oh, it's more like well, it's more QA question, right? It's like more for manual QA's question. I can actually forward you our. I mean, I don't want to like lie to you, or I don't want to give you like the wrong question. We actually have this question in our manual bootcamp.
But it's not manual; it's automation. It's like
yeah. I can try to find you. I can try to find you, but I don't. I mean, honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember exact answer, but I don't want you to give wrong impression about that.
Yeah, but it's like I've been asking this question. It implements that they want me to explain the quality assurance testing as an important role because he needs to find bugs, defecting, and also he has to participate in the CD life cycle and CT
SDLC.
life cycle.
SDLC.
Huh?
You mean SDLC?
Yeah, SDLC and STLC.
Oh yeah, I see. I see. Software test lifecycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, according to, I have to describe what I have been doing in the project. So it's kind of like I have to add extra information besides what I have been doing in the project.
Yeah, here's the thing, guys. I mean, that's why we usually like, I mean, if you go to the automation role, right? So you can get like a lot of questions regarding the manual testing or regarding like to, yeah, pretty much to the manual question. Because I mean, even if you know, like if you're technical enough, they still gonna ask you like some question regarding the manual testing. Because they want to make sure you can, I mean, before you will start to automate, you can understand how you need to create test cases, right? Or how the process works in general. I mean, pretty much that's why we don't we recommend people like to start work as a QA first before go to automation, because it's way, I mean, you can't, probably for you, if you don't have like a manual QA experience, you need to go over the manual QA thing, manual QA.
I have two projects. I did two projects in my class, in school class. That teacher was very, very amazing. And I did an external project with another company. So it's kind of like I know the process.
Okay, okay. I mean, well, then you can just describe them the process, like how did you follow an SDLC, like how
but
you start to create your testing, right? When you when you decide like which tickets you need to test, right? Or when you decide when you need to create a test cases, right?
But the person wants me to explain based on my project. So it's kind of like there is no such a manual testing in this project.
You can also, like, for example, like, you know how like we're running a regression suite, a smoke suite? It's as if we're doing automation, but think of it as if you were doing manual. How would you do that?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Logically wise, though.
Yeah. It's talking between, but it's kind of like there is no such a manual testing thing here on the project. It's more about automation. So I have to give some like summary or schema about like manual testing, but it's not very related to our project.
Yeah. I mean, well, you say it's like I can give you like some like resources and information to read off, but we are again like in our manual QA bootcamp, we are taking the full week or 2 weeks just to cover the SDLC process and the full beginning of the SDLC workflow. So it's kind of like completely like a different topic, and I can send you the details. You can go through them and.
But but I kind of like understand that. But in this case, when I have to describe that process in the schema, so what should I say? Just like I didn't read the requirements. I put my hands on the project directly. There was no contact with the developer, manual testing, and neither like anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, in this case, it's going to be like harder. Well, it's, in your real life, you're not just automating test cases, right? So, I mean, it's still the same process. You still kind of work on the same SDLC process, right? You have your team, you decide like which test cases needs to be automated, which should not be automated.
So,
and you kind of have your own SDLC, like procedures, like meetings.
It depends on the business analyst, but in regard to which one of the test cases should be included in the project or not, who is going to decide? The manager, the lead manager, the automation manager? Who is going to decide that?
It's manual testers.
Manual testers decide if that could be like something like not very relevant, like give.
Yeah. They're gonna just create a test cases. They're gonna do all of that, and you are server for you. I mean, you like a servant for manual testers, right? They're gonna give you like a bunch of test cases. They're gonna say, okay, this is what we want to automate. I mean, this is what we want for you to be automated, right?
Okay.
You're starting to automate them. Like sometimes they ask you something that's not possible to automate because they don't know like all the technical details, right? In this case, you need to tell them, hey, this is what you can't, this is what we can't automate because it has like some external dependencies and we don't want our test to be failed all the time, right? So pretty much it comes from the manual testers.
Okay, so just last question. So if I have described what I've been doing, I have to say, I read the requirements. I have to kind of like give some background, even though there's no background. And I have to say that I've been working the kiddos and I implement information like I start doing the framework from scratch, implement this information, then we passed from POM and then refactor that, and then we use Gira, something like that.
Yeah, just don't tell like you refactored. I mean, I would say you started, I mean, pretty much everything from the, I mean, at real company, you're not gonna like, you're not gonna go the flows that we did, right? So I just, like in the beginning, I just show you like the pure messy Selenium code, right? And then we refactored it, and then we implemented page object model, and then we implemented the cucumber, right? So after you join the company, you won't do like this way. You will like in the beginning, you will implement the page object model, right? From the day number 1. And from the day number 1, you will implement the cucumber.
But
So,
I mean, I've seen lots of code using the beginning of like driver that got this blah, 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 driver that got, they didn't implement any page object model.
well, this is, I mean, I can tell you like in most modern companies, they all using a page object model, or maybe they don't use the pages. Maybe they're using like some other reusable components like a widgets. But I mean, at every modern company, you will see some kind of version of page object model, because this is like one of the most popular
But how would you call the kind of like code we used in the beginning?
Like a, I don't know, not code which didn't use like any testing patterns, right? Which was like a messy.
I would say Selenium WebDriver tools.
I wouldn't say that. I would just say like, I mean, well, why would you need to tell about that? I mean, again,
because they would know that I am familiar with the driver that get this, driver that get that, blah, blah. So I'm able to read even that other code, something like that.
I mean, if you can write a framework from scratch and you understand the page object model and you know the benefits of that, right? Like, I mean, of course you will be able to understand the bad practices as well, but like, why would you need to do that?
Well, I had to describe the project, otherwise it would be okay. So,
I mean, you can write the full project in one line of Java, right? It's just going to be messy one line, and it's not going to be readable. It's not going to be reusable. But why would you need to do that?
Because I have to create a schema and I have to kind of like point it out the main concept, main point. So that's why I was like thinking, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like, don't focus on that. Like I would probably like, if you need to pick up knowledge about SDLC and how to apply for a project, you can do that. But again, in the company, you're not gonna do like this like messy code that we did in the beginning, right? So you will start implementing page object model, cucumber from the beginning, and yeah.
Okay, so you don't suggest, so you suggest me to add manual testing or something, even though we didn't do that? I want to make sure.
I mean, it's up to you, like whatever you will make your story, whatever you will like make your story for the interview. I mean, again, you will need to, I mean, if you will need to prepare questions from the manual testing for sure, because in every automation position, they usually ask questions regarding the manual testing. If you like don't have like a manual testing experience, or you're not prepared for the manual testing questions, like probably they're not even gonna ask you automation related stuff.
No, I think I know. I mean, if you ask me, I know. It's like,
yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you feel like you have some gaps on the manual testing, I would fill these gaps first, and only after that go to the more technical details. Because I would rather have, I mean, even for me, I would rather have people who understand like how like manual testing works rather than having the very technical developers who decide to transition to QA automation, but who doesn't know about testing, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying just I know that I just need to review stuff. It's not like I'm not familiar with that. Otherwise, I wouldn't even say SDL life cycle and as software testing life cycle, which are two different components.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just saying,
Yep.
it's a little bit stressed. Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, don't be stressed. Just
I have
apply and you will have like.
I have another interview tomorrow for entry-level business analyst. Just and I have, yeah, I'm just like, you know, and this guy asked me to, you know, create this.
Because it's a completely different position, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
they will
know.
never
but
ask you like
even-
any single Java question. Because I mean, well, in my opinion, you don't even need to apply for this because you overqualified. If you will say like, I know the Java, I know automation, and I'm applying for the business, like junior business analyst position, you are completely overqualified, honestly.
The position is for business analyst, the quality assurance. So it's
I see.
just both way. That's why I have to get ready for business analyst that I am not very familiar, and the quality assurance testing that I just discovered they have come in common software developed life cycle. There you go.
Yep.
I have a question, Azat.
Yeah, go ahead, Imad.
Sorry, I know we're taking too much of your time.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, when we apply in the jobs, I mean, for me, I'm applying more in the future because I'm trying to get more into the company. But do we apply for junior or senior or mid-level? What's the recommended? Getting your foot in the door, or just throwing yourself out there and building your skill kind of thing? Or
I mean, well, you just perfectly described it. You just put your foot in the door and just, I mean, don't apply. I would say don't apply for junior positions because, I mean, it's hard to be hired as a junior QA automation engineers because if you apply for the junior position, that usually means you can do your work, right? You kind of like needs to be trained to do that. But because you guys, I mean, you guys know how to, you know the Java now, right? You know how to build the full framework from scratch. I mean, you are definitely not the junior QA automation engineers because people learn that from sometimes like years learning at work. But you guys did all of that like in the 10 weeks, and this is amazing. And I would say don't apply for the junior, apply for the middle ones, or like even try for the senior ones because you never know, maybe they will like consider you as a senior QA automation engineer. And I would also like recommend you to apply for SDET positions as well because I mean SDET is kind of like more next level for you because we covered only QA automation for the web applications, right? And for the SDET you usually need to know like more, you need to have like a more knowledge also for mobile or for developing internal tools, but still try to apply for that positions as well because you never know what their actual expectations.
oh, yeah, that makes sense actually. And the other question I had is also for the, so how is the mentorship and that kind of stuff going to work out for us? Like,
Well, your first step number one, you need to prepare your resume, right? Make it add your automation experience there. Then you will go there and book a mentorship session regarding the resume. And after that, you will have like 2 more, and the next one is going to be a mock interview, and the last one is going to be like a final mock interview. Pretty much, I mean, this mentoring session is developed to help you to go to the job market, apply, polish your resume, give a feedback regarding the mock interview, and they are focusing on the job search.
Can we keep like requesting mock interviews? Because I feel like usually the problem is with like us as students is that the confidence build up. So I feel like the more mock interviews we have, the more confidence we can build, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you will have like 2 mock interviews, and you will get like honest feedback from vendors. So that's gonna like help you for sure.
Got it.
I will suggest you to apply for jobs and give it a try. Just, it's okay to fail.
I mean, yeah, that's how you usually learn. Like if you fail.
And then also you will know the questions, what they're going to ask, the main questions.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good advice. Yeah, thanks.
All right, guys. So I already took too much of your time. All right, guys. So finish your homeworks again, and see you all on Thursday, where we're gonna solve and help you to solve algorithm questions from the lead code. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.